Hello my dear viewers, and welcome to the 1966 Polara Wagon project Supercut, where you can see this tiny little clay project made from scratch. Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well, and thank you for tuning into Moose Motion. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new, and be sure you have your post notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new content. Anyway, thank you for your support, it's highly appreciated. Anyway, let's dive straight into this giant, massive block of a video. We'll start with a, base of a oven-baked brick, which is essentially just sculpted clay, which is baked up. And then we're going to add multiple layers on it to essentially build up to the point where it starts looking like a car. Now, unfortunately, this is quite a lot of work, building a tiny clay car model from scratch. With working wheels, to say the least, it's not exactly an easy feat to pull off. Each one of these cars approximately takes about 100 hours, maybe 150, depending on, the parts and how difficult things are. In this case, I basically constructed my entire own front end out of Lego pieces, so this one's safe to say that this is technically my own kit bash kit, essentially. And, personally, that's why I'm big into sculpting and always have been for, a majority of my life, definitely at this point, and I don't think it's going to be fading out anytime soon, because essentially the only limit is your imagination, which is quite a lot of fun. You can make anything you want, anything at all, which, at some point I would actually perhaps like to make my own concept car just to kind of prove that fact. At any rate, if you would like to see that later on at some point, let me know in the comment section below and we'll make our own, concept car from scratch. At any rate, we are going to move on to the little clay car here, where essentially I just made some axle housings. So in the future, essentially what I'm going to do is drill all the way through, and that gives it a little bit of added support for the actual housing for the axles, so the wheels can spin on this little clay car. Now, for any of those who are perhaps inspiring to make their own little clay cars out of plasticine, you could possibly skip this step entirely and not have your wheels spin. However, in, this case, it's going to be a stop-motion doll, so in the name of claymation, the wheels must spin. So the next step here is going to be essentially we want to reinforce the front end or the front clip of the car just slightly, essentially with wire or armature wire. Basically, anything will kind of work, as long as it's a wire of some sort that's easily to bend. Personally, sculpting wire is amongst the easiest to work with, and, it can be a variety of different gauges. I generally use stuff that's a little bit thicker. I think it's 0.4 to be exact. Not sure precisely. At any rate, what you want to do is essentially just kind of make out an lining for the fender itself, for the wheel to hang out. So essentially when we wrap the oven-baked clay there, it gives it a little bit of added reinforcement, so that way we're not having to, fight a wet noodle, so to speak, trying to keep the clay up from falling down, because gravity isn't always your friend in this case. Now, for some of you more observant viewers, or perhaps regular watchers or subscribers that generally tune into this channel on a regular basis, thank you for your support, number one. But you probably are well aware that there was a drawing segment of this car build. Now, unfortunately, I transferred that data over onto something else, and, given I tried to make a at least weekly upload post, it was just a lot easier and less of a headache than trying to include that footage. So essentially this is just the sculpting segment. So if you would like to see the drawing, links to the, other series to this car build are available in the link description. God, that was kind of bad. Hopefully I don't have to do a retake, and voicing over probably more than I should at this point. At any rate, we are going to continue on with some blending of the fenders, etc., and using some sculpting tools here to basically kind of, clean up those fine edges so you don't have any hard lines for future cracking problems. At any rate, the car is now going to go back in the oven for a bit so we can harden that clay. And, this should kind of go without saying. Don't stick your Lego pieces in the oven, obviously, because, that's plastic. It will melt. It's not oven clay. It doesn't get hard when things, get warm. So now at this point that we have the first layer all baked up and dry, essentially what we're going to do is add on some more oven baked clay, just thickening things up a little bit so that way we won't have some major offset problems with those wheels. So we basically want to make this layer of clay flush with that little gear in the back, which will be essentially the future wheel hub for this little Polara. Unfortunately, I haven't really had any time to test out the wheels, so to speak, on this Polara yet. I'm hoping to squeeze in perhaps some, well, tire punishing very soon. But, well, at this particular point in time, I'm working on some Halloween characters more than anything, so I can do an SCP animation, which has, well, been a long time pending. So we will have a clay car animation burnout session again, with the Polara basically being the star of the show. And if by chance you're new here, and, well, don't quite understand what I mean by testing the tires, and or by chance you haven't seen my claymations yet and you're already a subscriber, which would be kind of strange. Any rate, links are available in the description below for the claymation drag race, as well as the claymation drift competition featuring the AE86 and the little orange hot rod, which also happen to be hand sculpted from plasticine as well as oven baked clay. And if you by chance want to see how those are made, well, you know where to go. Links are available in the description below. Be sure to check those out after you're done watching this episode though, so that way it doesn't screw up the algorithm and helps add to my watch time minutes / hours. Yes, I do understand this one is rather long, but yes, again, these cars take, well, quite a bit of time to sculpt, so hopefully this is enough information to inspire somebody else to perhaps get into, well, sculpting their own clay cars. From my research, there's only maybe 2 people in the whole world doing this, so it'd be kind of cool to perhaps start a bit of a trend of other people making clay cars. So at this point in the Polara build process, what we're essentially doing is laying down some hard body lines in the oven baked clay and scraping down some high and low points, so when we start adding on to the plasticine, it makes our life just a little bit easier in the long run and we're not fighting to try and, well, figure out what body lines go where. It kind of gives us a general guide overall and helps retain the overall shape of the body as well. One tool I really like to use for that is the one I'm using currently, which is called a rake in the clay world, essentially. Just a little weird, essentially, hoop pieces of metal, essentially, to help scrape off the top layer of clay, or thinner or smaller, depending on how hard you want to push. And the other tool that I'm commonly using during this segment, the little strange rubber pieces, is what's known as a rubber sculpting tool. At any rate, during this point in the video, I'm going to ask you to follow along with the text. I will be back periodically during the highlights or most important parts where I feel voiceover commentary is probably best to help explain what's going to be happening during the build process just a little bit more. So if you just so happen to enjoy the video, be sure to smack that like button, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. Anyway, that's enough from me for now. I will see you or talk to you later on during the video or the build process. Now this is an important step, making sure that you have a nice firm cross member to essentially work with, generally speaking, because, well, if you want to make sure your front wheels are able to spin as well as turn, they're going to need plenty of reinforcements. So essentially these first few layers of black paint aren't really going to be sticking around, they're just basically there to kind of help us find the high and low spots. So essentially once you sand off the paint, all the, well, low spots will be shown a lot easier because they'll be, well, clearly black. So now that sanding is obviously all done, clearly this is the point where you grab a little bit of excess oven-baked clay and just fill in your low spots to help even everything out so your windshields look nice and flat. So now that the high and low spots have been taken care of, we're going to start moving on to a little V8 engine block. So what I like to do to start making my small V8s in particular is essentially start with the crankshaft housing. So that way it gives you a nice round base to start with, and then you're going to want to construct a set of heads and basically build a small V shape, and then you're going to want to add on parts from there, baking and, well, unbaking certain layers, but we'll save that till, well, the time comes. now that we're returning back to the engine, essentially what we're going to want to do before we start adding on more oven-baked layers of clay, or various car parts essentially in this case, is give everything a quick carving and clean down, because, well, once you start adding on various other parts, it's just going to be a pain in the butt to really have to work around soft clay versus hard clay. So depending on your skill level, this is going to affect kind of how you take the next steps here. My personal approach is generally I like to get as many of those small detail or small engine components attached onto the actual engine block itself before sticking it back in the oven, mainly because it was, well, from those cheaper old school clay products. Using that stuff, if you baked it too often, it would crack. With sculpted clay, you can obviously get away with that quite a lot more. It will burn over time, so you do have to be careful on how much you do bake it exactly. However, it still doesn't crack. I've never had it crack on me no matter how many times I've baked it. Essentially, it'll just kind of start turning a weird brown color, but depending on the situation, I'm painting this stuff 9 times out of 10, so realistically that is not that big of a deal. But at any rate, you're going to want to perhaps time your, well, baking periods in between your small details on making the small little engine parts, because essentially if you overwork things, well, then you're going to start losing those small details that you've worked so hard to get. So that's why, depending on your skill level, you may want to bake this engine a few more times than, well, you might want to be comfortable with. So depending on the type of product you're using, that may vary as well as your skill level. So just be patient, take your time, perhaps bake things a few more times. I think I only did it maybe 2 or 3 times out of total. So just be very, very patient, and eventually you'll get there. This is one of my favorite parts about it, mainly because I'm kind of a gear nut, or car head as is, and I like V8, so I like to make sure I have all the little components because, well, I've spent quite a lot of time under the hood of cars, and I know what should be there and what shouldn't be. So that's generally why I like to make sure that I have all the little detail, including like the little reservoir for the power steering pump, your intake components, your water pump, and including belts and spark plug wires, but that comes much later on during the build process. Oh, here just a quick offer a explanation for that giant gap in the oil pan where my thumb is sitting right now. Essentially what that is for is basically the engine is going to sit on top of the cross member with a little bit of sticky tack in that gap. So essentially during the stop motion process, all I have to do is poke the engine to give it the appearance that it's idling and shaking around. for one of my personal favorite steps, painting the engine block. Because basically this is where all that time and effort goes into those little details, and you can get some separation with the colors, and essentially you now can see what your, well, 440 in this case is actually going to kind of look like. And it, well, starts representing a real engine a lot more at this point than just being a white block of clay with some weird sticky outy parts. So now we're going to essentially add on some paint base coating, which, well, is probably not exactly a very necessary step. However, it's kind of just an extra safety precaution for future animation processing, mainly when things start getting scratched or dented up. That point, essentially, you won't see the green or the white underlayering. It will be a green underlayering, therefore making any imperfections or mistakes a little less noticeable in the long run. Now, this is actually a very important step, as, well, mundane as it really may seem, painting your fenders and your undercarriage black. The reason for that being is essentially if you leave it white, at that point it's going to kind of, well, register as abnormal more than anything, and people will probably notice that. So if you paint it black, essentially this is going to help out with the lighting aspect, making things a little bit darker underneath and inside the fenders where you don't want people to notice the imperfections as much and draw more attention to the actual wheel essentially at that point. So, essentially, all you really have to do to add a little bit more depth perception and more detail to get people to direct their eyes where you really want them is simply just adding a little bit of black. So now that the solid rear axle is now complete, I'm going to offer some explanation as to how we're going to be basically tackling on this front end for this little Polara. So essentially what we're going to do is use some custom Lego pieces that I'm going to modify to replicate the same steering components as this little Saline S7 model I have sitting around my house, where essentially it basically has a little wheel hub assembly sitting on top of another little rotating assembly with a push rod. So essentially what we're going to do, this is going to be our main component where the actual steering parts are. We'll just have to sand down essentially one side of this little Lego piece so that the actual wheel hub can be then glued onto it, which is essentially going to be this piece after we cut off those sides, leaving essentially just those two center holes, gluing the top portion of it and leaving the other, well, rod sticking out, available for basically the actual wheel, so that way the wheel can actually spin and then obviously turn on the little rotating piece itself. We'll have to slide in a little sleeve inside the wheel, and essentially that's going to be the actual ball bearing at that point. Obviously we're going to have to cut off this top part here, which is no longer going to be needed because, well, we need it to be round, not, well, oblong. So that's the whole idea. It's not exactly very easy or conventional, but it's what I got, and technically this is now my very own custom kit bash kit, and well, there's no other thing quite like it, which is honestly kind of a nice feeling, knowing that basically nobody else really in the world is going to have a car model kit quite like mine. And I find it's quite a commonly asked question on my TikTok platform in particular, where people are asking where I have gotten my cars. And well, it's kind of an awkward moment where it's basically, no, I did not purchase this, I have made it by hand. At any rate, for making these portions, or the steering components of this little clay hot rod, we are going to dive into my garage for a little bit and basically use the vise, because, well, it is a lot easier using the vise than trying to sand and break down all these tiny little components. That just sounds like a world of hand cramps that I personally don't want to deal with. So we're just going to work in here for the next little bit and, well, make our lives just a little bit easier. So now that most of the mechanical components have been constructed, what we're going to do is essentially take a little bit of time to prep and paint the inside parts where they are going to be hanging out, just so that way it's a little less stressful and less things to work around once they are installed inside the vehicle or kit bash kit in this case. So now that everything's basically put together, there's only one more thing for us to do, essentially, to help assist with the steering applications for this little armature doll. What we're going to do is install a push rod, so essentially this will connect both wheels together, so when one moves, so will the other in corresponding, well, fashion with that wheel. Therefore, your wheels basically now have steering. Now, one tool I'm very happy to have in my arsenal in particular is what's, well, referred to as a pasta roller. Well, clearly it's not being used as a pasta roller in this case, it's more of a plasticine roller, but it is a very, very efficient way to make sure you have enough nice, long, clean, evenly placed sheets for, well, layering up plasticine layers of clay. It makes life a lot easier, and, well, that way you don't have to nearly do as much raking as you normally would to basically kind of cut down on trying to make things even yourself, because, well, that's damn near impossible. It's a lot easier to just have, well, a machine do it, so one of these is definitely highly recommended. So now that all the plasticine sections have been broken down into nice workable chunks, essentially what you're going to want to do at this point is lay them down on the car's base frame and essentially remove all the excess plasticine in the various colors, well, and where you need them and don't need them, obviously, and making sure you have plenty of room for your wheels to spin and turn. So this part in particular was definitely not an easy one to pull off. Unfortunately, it does require quite a bit of patience, measuring, and a decent amount of sculpting tools, I would say, for the most part, mainly because there's a lot of really fine lines in between, well, all those little grill marks. So it's gonna take, well, yeah, some rather monotonous work, and I remember kind of having to walk away from this portion of the project a few times just for my own sanity's sake.
You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh.
And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away.
using the And here we are at the end of the video, as well as the end of the 1966 Polara Wagon project. So just want to thank you viewers for sticking around to the very end. I understand this was quite a chunky video, but that definitely helps me out with the watch time minutes, and perhaps someday this will, well, pay off, essentially. Perhaps one day I'll get some ad revenue from this channel eventually. At any rate, this is basically going to do for now. I will have to get back onto some future animation projects. Right now I'm currently kind of working on a big Halloween one. Hopefully I can crunch in enough time. It's kind of getting, unfortunately, a little late at this point, and this, well, large video took a lot longer than expected. Unfortunately, I think there was about 110 recordings just to make this video alone. Not to mention the 150 plus hours it took to construct the little clay car, basically completely from scratch. It's not exactly easy making these things, but it is definitely quite satisfying seeing it all come together and work in the end. At any rate, you've made it this far in the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. At any rate, that's enough from me. Till next time, take it easy.